What are the processes of rehearsals? Well, you might have equipped a large rehearsal space. You might set it out with tables and chairs and some of the basic props you need for rehearsals. You might have marked up the floor with a plan based on the architecture of your locations or sets. You might begin by reading scenes and then getting the actors on their feet and actually blocking the scenes with the actors based on the blocking you've previously envisaged. The skilled director will have a blocking plan and will adapt or modify this plan around the instincts of the actors. Some actors may be putty in your hands and they'll await your blocking direction and they'll move accordingly. They may suggest modifications and improvements on your blocking plan based on their own instincts. You may be a director who's very prescriptive about your blocking and you want them to do it exactly as you planned it. That's okay, but be aware they're only going to go with this if it clicks with their own instincts. More on this later. Other actors may get to their feet unprompted and block the scene based on their own instincts. And now you think, whoa, that's not what I want to do. I'm the director here. Things seem to be rapidly getting out of control. Take a look at what the actors are doing and for a moment forget about what you planned and envisaged. Is there anything they're doing which tallies with your plan? Is it all wrong? Or is it just a different way of doing it? You need to be objective now. What's working for you and what's not? If they're just doing the same thing but in a different way, there'll be a lot of room for compromise if you've remained flexible enough to do the same. You can then begin to shape and merge the best of what they're doing with the best of your plan. You'll ultimately find you've not compromised anything. In fact, you've been rewarded because you're building a stimulating relationship with actors. And they're going to soon be required to go to the ends of the earth with you, and now they may very well jump off too. Some actors may resist your blocking ideas. The very worst situation is when battles erupt. You're trying to be very persuasive, and yet the actor's resisting just about everything you're trying to do. Why is this person being so difficult? Okay, maybe yours is a dumb idea. Maybe you think the actor's just too dumb to get your idea, or too stubborn to try it. How do you fix this? The answer is you've set up an environment where the actors understand that there's no risk involved in trying anything, however stupid or incorrect they may feel it is. Why is there no risk? Because you've made the actors understand that their agreement to try something does not mean that this variation will be then fixed in cement. Nothing is going in the bank. We're just rehearsing here in an exploratory environment. This is the approach that I found is the most successful. It'd serve you well at the beginning of your director-actor relationship to make an opening statement to your actors something like this. And for Christ's sake, don't say this if you don't mean it. Say, there may be things I ask you to do which you consider stupid ideas. There may be ideas of yours which I consider stupid. And I have to tell you, there's no way I'm going to shoot what I think's a stupid idea of yours because I'm charged with the overall responsibility as director of this film. But conversely, I will not expect you to execute any idea of mine which you consider stupid. Look at what you've achieved by this statement of understanding. You've created an environment where your actors are prepared to try anything you may have in mind. They need not fear that they're treading down a windy road. They can trust that everything is an exploration for gold. And now, there's many things they may try, many ideas of yours which will be accommodated, even if it's not their preference. You've each shown a desire to work together. But I'm the director. I don't have to work in this way. I hired them. I'm running this show. Well, understand this. No one in your film will obey you because you sit in a chair with the title director written on it. But they will follow you to the end of the world if they respect your vision and your respect for them and their art. Having said this, the following's also true. The bigger the film you're directing, the more the supporting and day players will accommodate your wishes. But similarly, if you're directing a big film like this, the lead actors will expect to be heard loudly, and they'll take charge of their own performances. That's because they're most likely an integral part of the financing arrangements and have a proven track record of getting things right. It doesn't mean you can't creatively engage with this actor, and neither does it signify their reluctance to do so. The rehearsal room is where there can be considerable discussion about character and character backgrounds, etc. If you haven't already done so, now's where a lot of discussion and dramatic exploration can take place. This can occur in and around actually rehearsing the scenes, or you may wish to begin with some meaty discussion of this nature before anything else. Following on from this, I generally like to read the scene in a seated position and let the actors determine the point where they want to get on their feet and deal with any movement and blocking. In this way, I firstly get the drama and emotion of the scene nailed down and humming. You see, the blocking and movement in the scene must reflect the rhythms and emotions of the scene, so don't rush into this before the scene's playing well. Blocking's more of a mechanical process. The urge to get up and move may be a distraction, and it can negatively curtail properly exploring and exploiting the drama. An exception of this might exist if the scene's genuinely difficult to rehearse without incorporating movement from the outset. An example of this might be an action scene where the intensity of the dialogue and emotion is driven by the energy of the action. In this case, it'd be appropriate to deal with the action and the dialogue as a single unit. I like to steer things but let the actors drive. The rehearsal exists for the actors to achieve a high standard of performance. Working at their pace, sympathetic to their methods and urges to move towards more sophisticated levels is the best modus operandi. Every time an actor plays the complete scene, it moves more fully towards a whole. So try not to interrupt actors when they're reading or blocking. This can be disconcerting and irritating to the actor, particularly in the early stages of rehearsing a scene, when actors are grappling with issues and trying to find their way through the text. If you reserve your notes until the scene is complete, you'll arrive at a splendid result with less effort, better continuity, and in less time. This applies to reading and also to blocking. Once a general shape of the scene has been established, it's really starting to work well. The actors have rehearsed the complete scene a few times. You've made various notes and adjustments. It may then be okay to interrupt because now the actors will be able to accommodate your fine-tuning while they work. I like to put the actors on notice if I intend to interrupt. I'd say something like, let's just make this a stop-start style rehearsal so we can fine-tune some things along the way. Try not to touch the actors and nudge their bodies to where you want them to be. It's just not a nice way to work, and nobody likes being manhandled in this way. If you want to set precise positions for the actors, you might want to put down marks on the floor which the actors must hit. Being on a precise mark is very critical when filming for reasons of focus and precision with the camera, and actors are very experienced at the craft of this and the artifice of arriving precisely on a mark without appearing to look down. Here's a big tip which I found can make blocking effortless while rehearsing. Stand where you're going to put the camera. The actors know you're looking at them as a camera and that you're observing all that they're doing in terms of how you'll lens the scene, and they'll assist you in this process. If you're watching the performance from a potential camera position, I find myself doing this instinctively, the actors will pick up on this very quickly and they'll adjust their positions in anticipation of what you're most likely imagining your camera doing. You may orbit the action around the rehearsal and view from multiple positions during a scene. The actors will very quickly get what you're doing. Indeed, you might want to share some of your basic lensing ideas and your shooting plan with the actors. If they understand what you're trying to achieve, they can help you. Don't think the director's the only person who knows the secrets of a lens. A word of caution. Whilst you may choose to discuss your shooting plan with your cast, avoid blocking the action by describing what the camera will be doing. This is a common trap for beginners. Why? Well, think about it. If the camera's panning left, then the actor will be walking to the right. They're in front of the lens and you're behind the lens. Describe all the movement you want from the actor's point of view. Simple and obvious, but it's a part of speaking the same language as the actor. For example, if you were directing me in this scene and you wanted me to go to the left, and you said to me, move left, I'd do that, wouldn't I? But you actually wanted me to go that way. So describe the scene from where the person in the scene is standing. How do you start blocking a scene? Well, start with some basic information about where you see the actors making entrances or where they each begin on the stage. Perhaps you might share some key information about where and in what position you see them at various points in the scene. That's a good starting point. Now say action. There'll be lots of other details you want to adjust, but save these until this first run is complete. Then make additional notes and add other elements to the blocking. After you've done that, say action again, and you're going to be getting a lot closer now to how you see it this time round. Continue adding and fine-tuning this way as the scene plays multiple times. And remain flexible, because the actors may invent moves based on their own instincts. Shape the scene in layers like this until you reach a final result. Positioning of props on the rehearsal stage can be a simple means of creating the blocking you desire without any words being spoken. For example, if the murderer's revolver is under the kitchen sink, then you've already mandated some of the blocking about where and how the murder will take place, because the actor will have to seek out the revolver at the appropriate moment in the scene. Props are a very important part of rehearsal. Ensure you're rehearsing with key hand props and others. Pretending props which don't exist is a very clumsy way to rehearse. Alternatively, you may be using the rehearsal room solely as a space to read, improvise, or explore scenes and relationships, because you're not ready to get into the specifics of blocking yet. And this could be because A, you're going to develop that blocking plan at a later stage based on these very rehearsals, or maybe B, you don't know the precise architecture yet of your sets and locations, or C, the scene's predominantly action-based and can only be blocked on location or when you're shooting. And so necessarily your rehearsal time is going to be more of a dramatic exploration where you don't require to lock everything down. Or D, it could be a combination of all of the above. Much of the processes I've discussed here will be similar to the way you work on the shoot day. Namely, you'll first read the scene and get it humming, and then you'll block the scene. Now, of course, you'll shoot it. So you can see how rehearsals of this nature are going to save you a lot of on-set time. Organize your time wisely in rehearsals. Schedule a proportionate amount of time to rehearse each scene and then move on to new scenes.